One of the biggest news stories coming out in the IWC this week was the injury to Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan dislocated her shoulder on Monday Night Raw in a one-on-one match with Kairi Sane. And reportedly now, the injury is sending ripple effects throughout the WWE creative department, not just for Liv Morgan, but for the Evolution 2 card that takes place on July 13th. I got the latest on Liv, what this means for her injury and her return. How long is she going to be out? What creative do they have in store for her? And how could they integrate her back when she does return? I got some ideas. We'll talk about them today right here on Off the Script. SmackDown may be going back to 2 hours. I don't know, man. I don't know where this is coming from. We had 3 hours, 2 hours, back to 3 hours, and now back to 2 hours. Someone's lying, someone's bullshitting, but the latest is SmackDown's going back to 2 hours. We'll talk about that as well. The Doctor may be going to WWE. I got the latest on Britt Baker and what she is up to lately. And apparently, someone's upset. WWE's upset, AEW's upset. Someone's upset that WWE and AEW stars are working together on the new revival of American Gladiators. I'll give you one hint on who's upset, and it's not what Dave Meltzer says. We'll talk about that right here on Off the Script. It is your Saturday, June 20th, 2025. I guess we'll start with that. We'll start with the American Gladiators. Wardlow and Kamille are going to be part of the American Gladiators revival. Rick Boogs, my guy Boogenhagen, is going to be over there as well, hosted by The Miz, who is the host of this new show. Rumor has it that one side is having issues with AEW and WWE stars working together on the project. And this is what Dave Meltzer says about this as he clarifies that WWE is the one that isn't happy about this situation. And I quote from Meltzer, "In a follow-up from what I hinted about, it was WWE and not AEW." Of course it was, Dave. Of course it was. It was WWE and not AEW that apparently had issue with The Miz hosting American Gladiators and having current AEW talent, in particular Wardlow and Kamille, as gladiators on the show. Ironically, while under AEW contract, neither has been used in forever, he says. Anyway, filming has started, and now the question is, will AEW promote its talent on the show with The Miz, or will WWE promote the show because of The Miz being with AEW talent? Now, Meltzer also pointed out that Happy Gilmore 2 is coming to Netflix, and then on Monday Night Raw, we saw a preview or a trailer that aired during Monday Night Raw that featured Becky Lynch, but did not feature MJF, who is also in the movie. Some people are trying to correlate that WWE has a problem because they left MJF out of the trailer on Monday Night Raw. I mean, people are just fucking retarded. Everybody is stupid, man. I swear to God, I feel like I live in a sea of fucking idiotic fucking people, honestly. I don't know how people have become so stupid. Like, you don't realize that this has been going on forever, even during the Vince McMahon days, where if someone leaves the company, WWE is not going to actively promote them or put them in a video package, or if they are in a video package, they will actively remove them. This has happened to so many names. I can't even begin to mention the plethora of names that have been in this situation. Sasha Banks, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Jon Moxley, Edge, Chris Jericho. The list goes, Sting. The list goes on and on. WWE has done this forever, where they would alter the footage and they would leave said name out of a video package or a vignette. Why is this news to anybody? Of course, WWE was going to leave MJF out of the trailer and only feature Becky Lynch because MJF, not yet, is not a WWE talent. Becky Lynch is. I don't understand why people are so confused about this. Is AEW upset about this, or is WWE upset about this? Here's one thing, folks. You know, this is what Meltzer fails to project to you on his radio show and in the newsletter. Kamille starred in Queen of the Ring. She had the second biggest role in the entire movie. AEW did everything possible to not promote Kamille in this movie. They even had a match dedicated to hype up the movie on Dynamite. That I don't know if it was a tag team match or a 6-woman tag team match. Kamille wasn't in the match. Toni Storm was in the match. Toni Storm was in the movie. Kamille was in the movie. Britt Baker was in the movie. Trinity, Naomi is in the movie. Naomi obviously wasn't going to be featured on AEW television. Britt Baker wasn't featured. The only one featured was Toni Storm. You would think by watching Dynamite and all the hype around this on Dynamite that Toni Storm was the star of the movie. Kamille had the second biggest part in the movie. Then we get to the red carpet, and they do everything to not show Kamille on the red carpet. They show Mercedes, and they show fucking Harley Cameron on the red carpet. Neither one of these women are in the movie. They did everything to actively sway you from even realizing Kamille was in the movie. Yet you want me to believe that WWE has a fucking problem working with AEW talent. AEW's got problems with their own fucking talent. Do you know what they're upset about? They're upset that they gotta promote Kamille in American Gladiators. That's what they gotta be. That's what they're upset about. They're upset that they gotta promote Wardlow in American Gladiators. They're not upset with the fucking fact that The Miz is hosting the show. They've done everything to actively sway you from fucking looking at their own talent in a movie like Queen of the Ring. Now, you want me to sit here and believe that WWE's got a problem. AEW's got a problem with their own fucking talent. Has anybody asked the question why Kamille has been off television since December when Dave Meltzer just said it in the newsletter that they just began filming? Where's she been for 6 months? I don't know. Where's she been? Nobody wants to find out that question. Those elusive 6 months. Where is she? Here's another one, folks. You want me to believe that AEW is all right with this happening. Another instance in which they hate their own talent. They love them for when they can use them, but when something goes wrong or they don't believe in said talent because they said something, goodbye, man. You're locked in Guantanamo Bay, never to be seen again, never to be heard from again. This is the same company, Tony Khan, same company that actively buries you, that actively takes you off television, actively locks you up in a very inactive way, Guantanamo Bay, and throws away the key for you simply uttering the names CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. Jamie Hayter has been buried, for lack of a better term, because she actively said that if you don't want to listen to advice from CM Punk, you are a fool. Where's Jamie Hayter been? What's Jamie Hayter been doing? Jamie Hayter's been a non-factor in everything on AEW television. I mean, the best that they had for her return was a pre-show at All In, which, by the way, I'm still waiting for the sicko's apology on that. What has been done since then? Ricky Starks, what happened? They left him at home. Why? Because he showed up to celebrate his best friend's achievement by winning in the main event of WrestleMania. Or showing up to celebrate Cody main eventing WrestleMania. You want me to sit here and believe that Tony Khan is all right with his talent working with The Miz. But the WWE has a problem. They don't give a fuck about Kamille or Wardlow. They don't give a shit. If anything, WWE is using American Gladiators as a scouting session for both Kamille and Wardlow. Because they're both going to kill it. They're both going to show you why they should be on American television for a pro wrestling show. And WWE is eventually going to end up scooping them up. And they're going to be on NXT television within 6 to 12 months. You want me to believe that WWE is the problem? No, WWE is not the problem. AEW is the problem because they know that The Miz, being the host of the show, he's the fucking figurehead of the show, that they're going to have to promote American Gladiators. They won't because they didn't even do it for Kamille. So please spare me the lies, spare me the bullshit. And another story that is just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why these people continue to glaze AEW and defend Tony Khan in the way that they do, because everything that you see that I talked about, you physically seen or read somewhere along the way, and you know that I am factually correct on this. AEW is the problem, not WWE. I'll tell you what is the problem. 3-hour SmackDowns. Apparently, according to PW Insider, this is going back to 2 hours on Friday night. SmackDown going back to 2 hours. A new report from PW Insider says the change will go into effect starting July 4th due to the holiday. That episode will actually be taped after the June 30th episode of Raw in Pittsburgh. That means that there are only 2 episodes of SmackDown left. June 20th, which was yesterday, and June 27th coming up next week, right before Crown Jewel, which I believe will also be taped as well because the talent's got to fly over to Saudi Arabia. Those are the only 2 shows left in the 3-hour format. Now, why? Apparently, USA Network is debuting a new show called The Rainmaker. No, it does not star Okada, and no, it has nothing to do with Okada. Called for a premiere of the show Rainmaker to happen in mid-August in Friday Night SmackDown's time slot starting at 10 p.m. So there are signs that this could mean the show is going back to 2 hours. There is a lot of pro wrestling, bro. There's a lot of pro wrestling. Raw's 2.5 hours, SmackDown's 3 hours, NXT's 2 hours, TNA, if you guys watch that on Thursday, is 2 hours. We just got done with back-to-back-to-back weeks of incredibly long and boring AEW television. Collision and Dynamite were paired the last 2 weeks at 4 hours on Wednesday. Grand Slam Mexico went over 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. Can you imagine? There is way too much pro wrestling, and all of this happening in non-PLE pay-per-view weekends. I'm not even factoring a pay-per-view weekend into the mix. There's a lot of pro wrestling. I don't know who can sit there and watch all this pro wrestling. Certainly won't be me. But there's a lot of pro wrestling, man. A move for SmackDown back to 2 hours is going to be a lot healthier for the show. Now, I'm sure I already sense it. I already hear it. Oh, JD, half of the roster's not being used, man. That's great. Go cry me a fucking river and here's a fucking Kleenex. Shut the fuck up. I don't care. 3 hours is incredibly long. The only way 3 hours of SmackDown worked was when they did the Raw and SmackDown Super Show type deal, like we saw for the Go Home Show on Money in the Bank. They used Raw superstars to fill the fucking gaps. They don't have the roster depth on Friday Night SmackDown to even warrant a 3-hour show. The women's division is fucking offensive, honestly. Compared to Raw, the women's division is shit. I don't know what's going on there. They got no top talent. You got a part-time champion. Cody's not there every fucking week. Roman Reigns is a fucking free agent. He's on the island of irrelevancy somewhere. I mean, LA Knight's still feuding with the fucking Bloodline. Now they're moving him over to Raw, hopefully to feud with Seth Rollins. I don't know what tag team division's a bright spot. They're fixing that. Hopefully everything else comes along. A lot of these problems would be better under a 2-hour format than they would be a 3-hour format. Seriously. I can't wait. I hope this is the truth because we heard the show's moving to 3 hours. Then we heard the show's moving back to 2 hours in June. Then we hear the show's not moving back to 2 hours. It's staying 3 hours. And now we're moving back to 2 hours. So which is it? PW Insider is a pretty reputable website. Hopefully they are correct. And we're not sitting here again fucking just with our eyes bulging out watching a 3-hour snooze fest on Friday night. Hopefully 2 hours is the way. Now, again, this Rainmaker show is happening in mid-August. Who's to say that when this show is over, however many episodes, 8 episodes, 9 episodes, 10 episodes, that when this show is finished, they don't go back to 3 hours? What are they going to fill that gap in when Rainmaker is no longer airing episodes? Are they going to do SmackDown again at 3 hours? It may be a temporary thing at 2 hours only for when this show ends, they go back to 3. We don't know. Hopefully it stays. I'm praying to whatever wrestling god out there may be listening to us. 2 hours is best. Britt Baker. Apparently, Britt Baker is in Guantanamo Bay. Apparently, to some, Britt Baker is leaving AEW. We got a big update on Britt Baker. This comes from Jonathan Coachman. Jonathan Coachman said that Britt Baker is on her way out of AEW and she will be landing in WWE. Coachman's host, Tommy Carlucci, asked, the one from AEW, Britt Baker. Coachman immediately confirmed, saying, ding, 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 gone from AEW. My sources keep coming to your boy, he said. She is ready. She's so ready. She's got the built-in storyline, and she got buried because she pushed back. She spoke up about what's going on, and in wrestling, you can't do that. That's what Jonathan Coachman said. I think Coach is great. I appreciate Coach inviting me on the show. Hopefully we do it again. But Coach doesn't, I don't want to say Coach doesn't have sources. They're not backed up in any way, and they're just grab me headlines that are going to get traction for his platform. There's no credible sources behind any of this. Now, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting a follow-up to this story. Britt Baker is under contract to AEW, has not left AEW, and signed a 5-year contract in late 2021 that would keep her under contract for well over another year, not including possible injury time added. A WWE source reached out to Fightful to say that they checked and claimed that Baker was always a welcome face when visiting the shows in years past, but they have not discussed her coming to WWE in recent years. We've also not heard of creative plans for Britt Baker in AEW if they exist. There's no creative plans for Britt Baker. Britt Baker's not coming back. Britt Baker's going to be another Ray Phoenix Penta situation where Tony should just cut his losses and just let her go and do what she wants to do. She's not even there. She's not even in a relationship with Adam Cole anymore. So it's like you can't, Tony's not going to end up cutting them or cutting her if they are together. They are separated now. So clearly Adam Cole's got some time left. That's another story in itself that hopefully we'll touch upon at some point. He is just completely out to lunch. Adam Cole wrestles like he doesn't give a shit anymore, man. You just see it all over his body, legitimately. Doesn't give a shit. The way Adam Cole is on AEW television, it is so sad. From what you saw back in NXT Black and Gold, a shell of his former self, man. They're not even together, so cut your losses with Britt Baker. You don't want to use her, let her go. What the fuck you paying her for? What are you paying her for? Is she a headache? Sure, there's been stories. But does she have some sort of legitimacy behind the complaints to AEW or about AEW? Man, I'd love to be a fly on the wall with that fucking situation. Because whatever she complained about, I'm sure was valid. She's got her own problems, which has been very well documented. But that doesn't mean she's wrong when she complains about the company. Maybe she deserves or feels like she deserves a little bit better being one of the early faces to adopt that women's division, and she's been pushed to the side for Mercedes or Tony Storm. Maybe she's actually stood up for women's wrestling and realizes that women's wrestling in AEW is nothing more than a complete scam. It's a fucking farce. Maybe she's spoken up about it, and maybe she got punished for it. The last time we saw Britt Baker on television is that she was set to feud with Serena Deeb. I don't know who she wrestled, but it was last November, I believe, and right on camera, right in front of the camera, she uttered, "Nobody cares, nobody cares." They just trotted Serena Deeb out there, and apparently they were about to begin a program. Britt let you know exactly how she's feeling, and gone from television ever since that moment. Britt Baker looks to be in the best shape of her entire career. She came back and gave you a real story about why she's been out, and they still failed to build Britt Baker back up to a credible threat in the division. This is why I've been saying for months, for years, if Britt was in WWE, I doubt these problems would exist. If Britt was in WWE, I guarantee you she'd be an angel sitting on someone's shoulder. I guarantee you if Britt is in AEW or in WWE and leaves AEW and she gets to the Performance Center, you'll see a better Britt Baker because she will have the coaches and the knowledge and the talent around her that wants to see her get better. Nobody does that in AEW. They don't push you to get better. They don't strive for your greatness. They don't give a shit unless you are in their favorites group. That's it. Britt, hopefully, is out of this fucking misery that is AEW and goes on. If she wants to continue to wrestle, she don't even have to wrestle. She don't have to wrestle. She's a dentist. The fuck do you need to wrestle for? If she wants to do it, I'm sure WWE would welcome her with open arms. And finally, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was injured on Monday. Actually, we'll get to Liv Morgan. We got news on Private Party and Jamie Hayter as well. I think I mentioned Jamie Hayter. We'll touch upon those two as well. Little news stories, just extra for you guys. But we'll talk about Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was injured on Monday night, and it was a separated shoulder in a match with Kairi Sane on Monday night, and it was very apparent as to what happened, and it was a very, very shitty situation. Now, apparently, she's injured, and it's sending ripple effects throughout the creative department, and right now, WWE doesn't know what it's going to do with the plans for her and Evolution 2. This is coming from WrestleVotes. Morgan dislocated her shoulder during a match with Kairi Sane. There is no current timetable for her return. The injury has had major ripple effects on the company's creative plans for the summer. They say, and I quote, "I was told that this morning the injury has now caused a lot of Evolution card to basically be scrapped, ripped up, and start again from scratch because she was pegged for a big-time tag team match that is not going to happen now. The tag team match was Raquel and Liv versus Nikki and Brie Bella, the Bella Twins, as they defended the tag team championships against the Bellas. That spot is now going to be filled by someone else, and there's a lot of ripple effects." Now, there's a follow-up to this story that key creative meetings reportedly haven't even happened yet following Liv Morgan's injury. Now, the story was first broken by WrestleVotes and then followed up by Bodyslam.net, who noted Morgan is expected to be sidelined for up to 6 months with a shoulder injury. A subsequent report from Fightful Select confirmed that Morgan will indeed require surgery to repair damage in her shoulder. A 6-month recovery timetable would mean a potential return to the ring for Morgan around December or January of 2026. December 2025 into January 2026. Perfect time for Rumble season. Morgan sustained the injury during the opening moments of her match on the June 16th episode of Raw, which was stopped immediately. And like WrestleVotes said, they reiterate ripple effects throughout creative. According to Dave Meltzer, WWE has not yet held the key meetings to determine the creative direction following Liv Morgan's legitimate shoulder injury on Raw. The injury was something that they did not expect, obviously, and has thrown plans for the upcoming Evolution 2 premium live event. He says, and I quote, "That's going to have to be changed. I mean, they could put, Raquel Rodriguez or Roxanne Perez in there against the Bellas if they want to do that. I don't know what they're going to do necessarily about the tag team titles. From what I have been told, the key meetings have not even been held yet as far as what to do. So that's where it stands right now. Obviously, changes are going to be made. The meetings, are actually probably going to be tomorrow. But I was told that the key stuff has not been discussed as of yet. And what they're going to do, yeah, that was a key match on the show." End quote. Now, selfishly, I just want to say this would be the perfect opportunity to burn the tag team titles and just get rid of them off of television, as they are completely fucking useless. There is no tag team division. I don't know why we are still holding on to hope. Just admit defeat and fucking vacate the titles and retire the titles. Simple. Nobody wants them. Nobody cares for them. You got an IC title and a United States title in the same women's division. There is legitimately no need for a tag team title. Zero. The Bellas will be fine. Nikki and Brie will be fine. We don't need tag team titles. Now, as far as Liv, I feel bad because she was obviously in a major storyline with the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio. She was tag team champions with Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. 6 months is a long time. But I'm here to tell you guys that it's all right to feel bad for Liv Morgan, but I look at this as a blessing in disguise type of situation. Now, I wrote on social media, and I will pin my tweet in this video because I want you guys to see this. I don't know how you feel about this, but instead of expressing feeling bad for Liv Morgan, I look at it differently. Just like Rhea's injury was a blessing in disguise for Liv, Liv's injury is going to be a blessing in disguise for Roxanne and Liv when she comes back. this presents itself for an even greater story if WWE plays their cards right. Roxanne Perez can slowly begin mimicking Liv's style, Liv's behavior, and even Liv's gear, playing up a creepy replacement angle. Now, we've seen this done with Trish Stratus and Lita. We've seen not Trish Stratus and Lita, Trish Stratus and Mickie James. We've seen this done with Toni Storm and Mariah May. If WWE wants to take a page from those two playbooks and do their own storyline, make it a little bit darker, and give Roxanne some personality, give Liv a greater personality when she comes back, I think that could be a very good story to tell. Telling her that she's everything Liv never was. Judgment Day would be telling her that she's everything Liv never was. Dominic is in this thing, and he's obviously biting his tongue, right? Dominic fuels her delusion. I'd even have Michael Cole start to notice how off Roxanne has become over the next several months. Finn Balor and JD McDonough week by week cut promos distancing themselves from the group, visibly upsetting Dom over time, implying she was weak or selfish. And she's let the group down by getting hurt. Dominic tries to remain loyal to his family, but week by week, it's breaking him as he hides his emotions. Roxanne plays loyal follower, and she eventually is the one to beat Io Sky for the Women's Championship later this year. Liv returns visibly disturbed, playing a darker babyface character. The feud becomes more deeply personal, where Roxanne believes she is Liv, but Liv has to take her identity back. Liv would go on to win the Royal Rumble, get Roxanne Perez at WrestleMania for the Women's Championship. She would beat Roxanne with the help of Dominic as he turns on Judgment Day to align himself back with Liv for a post-WrestleMania babyface turn as a power duo in WWE. Now, I understand I didn't really fill in the gaps from when Liv returns to WrestleMania. I mean, that's not my job. I'm just giving you a basic synopsis of what I would do and just a basic, on paper storyline for you guys to build a direction towards. I understand that most people also want the Judgment Day thing to end and that it doesn't need to continue further on into this summer, into the fall, into Royal Rumble, into next year's WrestleMania. I get it. We can see some alterations to the Judgment Day. But I do think that this is the best thing for Liv, and I do think that it could benefit Roxanne Perez as well. So instead of looking at it as, oh, whoa, Liv Morgan, how could they? Oh, my God, what's going to happen? Poor Liv Morgan. Look at it in the way that it was when Rhea Ripley went out with injury. It was a blessing in disguise for the women's division. Rhea Ripley came back and lost nothing, but Liv Morgan gained everything. She became one of the biggest names in the division, was the MVP of the women's division last year, and even took that MVP status into the beginning stages of 2025. Liv Morgan's made herself into a star because of it. So why don't you think it's going to work in the same way for Liv and now Roxanne Perez in 2025 going into 2026? I think that's the best way to go about it. Let me know what you guys think about that. I feel like this is going to be a blessing in disguise for Liv Morgan, but 6 months, right around Rumble time, we could be looking at a dark horse winner already for the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble. And quickly, guys, updates on both Private Party and Jamie Hayter. Coming out of AEW, Jamie Hayter is off of television, and a lot of people don't really understand why, as she's in a feud right now, or at least in the beginning stages of a feud with Tekla. Jamie Hayter, according to Fightful Select when they reached out, Hayter told us she was okay and worked an angle with Tekla on this week's Dynamite, or I guess 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. Since then, Hayter hasn't appeared and hasn't appeared at this past week's Dynamite, and sources in the company said that Hayter would be booked if she were available and indicated she hasn't been cleared. We don't have a timetable on her return. We're told that AEW had to get creative with the Tekla Hayter angle, which is why the lights went out. They're hopefully wanting to get Hayter back very soon. There was a spot in the Hayter and Mercedes match where the match ended, and it ended on a very brutal and vicious DDT roll-up. I'm wondering if that move from Mercedes and the ending of that match ended up giving Jamie Hayter a concussion, which she said she's all right, but the report from Fightful said she's not medically cleared. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Apparently, Jamie Hayter is out injured, but they don't want to say what. And they don't want to bring attention to what the last spot was that injured her, so they work the Tekla injury angle or the Tekla debut as an injury angle to get Jamie Hayter off of television, and they'll bring her back into Tekla's story when she comes back so she has something that she can quickly be integrated into. I don't know. People want Jamie Hayter to have a bigger role in the women's division, yet she'll probably just find herself on the pre-show for a second year in a row at All In if she even makes it back in time, or worst case, she might not even make All In. I don't know. But that spot, that DDT spot in that Mercedes match at the last pay-per-view, go back and watch that DDT. I'm assuming that's going to be the spot that people are going to pinpoint as to why Jamie Hayter is out of action on AEW television. And Fightful also says that Private Party have contracts coming up later this year, sooner rather than later, in fact. As of now, we've not heard any injury time being added to Private Party's contracts. They learned in early June that WWE had at least preliminary interest in both Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn before the frame of reference regarding their contracts was available. We've not been told if they've been approached either for new contracts or by WWE. They got buried on the way out. They got buried out of their tag team title reign. They come back, they're going to be in absolutely nothing. They have exhausted all they could in AEW. AEW has used them to the most that they could, and it's on AEW for not building up Private Party more. Over 5 years, they've accumulated nothing. Nothing. And this is a team that was led and trained by the Amazing Red. You would think that being trained by the Amazing Red and under the learning tree of the Amazing Red, that they would be fucking building upon that someone there would be building upon that in AEW. They let these guys wither and die and amount to nothing in the company. WWE, NXT, in fact, is their best route. They need to go to NXT. Their tag team division is weak. Their tag team division can use Private Party. Plus, they got the resources of living in Orlando and having the performance center there with people that will mold and mature you into the talents that you should already be after 5 years. But AEW builds talents. AEW builds stars. They clearly don't if you're Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. So what exactly are we doing here? Hopefully their contracts are up. AEW will bid them adieu, and they will go to NXT because another two guys that AEW has just completely lost in all of the madness. Private Party and what Private Party brings to the table is not in the vision of the current landscape of AEW. It was. They didn't do them good then. They certainly won't do them good now. They don't know what they want. They don't know where they got to be. Private Party ain't it. NXT's the best place for both Quinn and Cassidy. Guys, that's all I got for you on this Saturday. Thank you very much. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure you hit that thumbs up down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications, and please follow me on social media at JDfromNY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Go check out all the content on the channel. And if there's any more news, I will be back here with more extra right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.